Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. Can we talk with Monique? I am Monique. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. And if you've been here before, I appreciate you guys so much for joining me. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, and that way you'll be notified of all my uploads. So guys, they say there's 6 degrees of separation, but I believe it's less. So y'all, let me tell y'all this story. Y'all know I have been watching and listening to these phone calls from prison from probably about 3 months ago. And I have become, intrigued by the story just like everybody else has who's listening to them, right? I mean, at what point do you get to listen to phone calls from somebody in prison? But there's the backstory about it. And I told you guys, I really do think it's a teaching moment. And these should be case studies, the phone calls and the different individuals. However, I had no idea that I was going to listen to these phone calls and I was going to hear something that was a little familiar. And it goes back probably about a month ago because I listened to several content creators. And in one of the incident reports, they mentioned a business establishment. So I was like, okay. I heard about the business establishment. It's written there in black and white, and it's a business establishment that I have conducted business with and has established business with, right? So I was like, okay, that's just a coinky dink. All right, And I saw it in the one of the videos that Pam Esquire did, this particular business establishment, which happens to be a car dealership. And I don't think anything of it. But y'all, one day I'm minding my business and I'm listening to a phone call, another one. And I thought I heard something familiar. And I go, wait, let me replay that. Sometimes Ernesto, the way his ebonics are or is, the way he enunciates stuff, it doesn't always sound like what it really should be. But it was a name that I was like, did I hear that? But I wasn't really sure and I didn't pay it any attention and I didn't think about it again. Well, last week, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. No, not last week. I think it was the week before last. I went back and I started re-listening to the old phone calls, right? So I'm listening to the old phone calls, y'all. And sure enough, I said, wait a minute. That's an uncommon. Wait, did I hear what I heard? And I said, well, wait a minute. I know that business establishment, but then I go back and I listen to the phone call and I play it about one time. I play it twice and I play it 3 times. And I was like, yup, sure enough, he done said something that was familiar to me. It was a name. And I was like, oh, snap. This can't be a coincidence. So I was not going to go and try to be nosy. I'm trying to report out here on these YouTube streets, but I wasn't trying to be nosy and just go up to the establishment, and ask questions. Cause that's not, to me, I'm not, working for channel 2 or channel 7 or channel 11. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't got nothing to, hey, but just so happened, y'all, I had some business to conduct. Yes, sirree. It was coming to the end of the lease for my car. And the name that I heard wasn't just a name that you would say is a common name. It's not. But these people are my friends. You see, I know these people at this business establishment, and it's such the type of, it wasn't just business. It's friendship, and it's the type of friendship where, some of my sons went to school. How you doing? How's the kids? That type of thing from back in the day. So when I heard the name, I said, ooh, wait. And so the end of my lease was coming up on my vehicle. And I was like, well, I'm just going to go in there, but I ain't going to say nothing. But in the back of my mind, I was like, because this is on the news. And I was like, you know what? I wonder if they know something. I don't know if they know their name. Because what would you do if you had a friend and their name was being, mentioned and said phone calls? So I said to myself, when I go up there This is about 2 weeks ago. I said, when I go up there, I'm going to mention it to Mr. So-and-so because, hey, I'm going to give him a heads up. So I goes there and we gets to talking. Happy New Year. How's the kids? You know, so-and-so. I had a family member, not a family member, but a friend of mine passed away. So we start talking about that because we all know the same group of people. And so we talking about the kids, interest rates, how much houses cost, you know, grandkids, daughters, all that good stuff. I walks out there and forgets to say anything. So I'm like, dang. So I go back and I said, well, really? Did I really hear? I said, well, it's the same dealership. I said, but let me go listen to it again. Now, I was going to go all the way back up there and be like, did you know they mentioned your name? So I go back and listen to the phone call again. And I was like, you know what? I had to come back up there to do some more paperwork for what I needed to take care of. And I said, this time I'm not going to forget. So I was like, for sure enough, that name I did hear. So I goes back up there Friday that just passed, this past Friday. And I'm sitting in there, we chopping it up and we talking and chatting. How you bought the house? Yeah. You know, houses cost a lot. Yeah. You know, we talking about stuff, you know, engagements, you know, because these are people that I know. And I was getting ready to walk out of there. And all of a sudden I remembered again. Don't ask me why. You know, I started chatting it up and we, you know, hugging, happy, you know, whatever. I remember to mention what I heard on phone calls from prison. So as I'm getting ready to walk out, I go, hey, such and such. You know, I'm on YouTube. I've got this, you know, little channel and all, but I'm following this story. And I said, look, I know that something happened at this establishment, but I know I heard your name. He said, what are you talking about? So I told him, I said, there's this case with somebody named Ernest Williams and somebody named Erica Hughley. And he looked at me. He said, why does that name sound familiar? I said, because I think they came here. And he goes, that name. I said, go on over to your computer. He said, what is the name again? And now I'm standing. Now this ain't allegedly because this happened right in front of my eyeballs. Okay. This ain't alleged. He gets on his computer. I go, Ernest Williams, Ernesto. And I said, there was a young lady that was allegedly his counterpart named Erica Hughley Rothschild. He gets to Googling. Tap, 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 tap. You know, you hear my keyboard in the background. He gets to Googling. Okay. He gets to Googling. And y'all, he brought up the mugshot with Erica and Ernesto. Honey, he looked at me. I looked at him. He looked at me. I looked at him. He looked at me. I looked at him. I said, do you know him? He said, how could we forget? I said, oh, snap. Oh, snappity, snappity, snappity. I said, you know them? I said, well, honey, he's locked up in Cobb County Prison and she was locked up, but they let her go. And I said, it's for fraud and some whatever the charges were. He looked at me. I looked at him. He looked at me. I looked at him. He goes, oh my gosh. He starts letting his fingers through the walking on the keyboard. Then he calls somebody, yo, come in here. His next door in the office. And a guy comes in here. He said to his office mate, he said, you remember him? The other guy goes, yeah, how could you forget him? And he told him, I basically said, yeah, this is what's going on. And it's all over the, YouTube, and I thought I heard your name. And I just wanted to find out if you knew anything, like if the Popo or the Federales or somebody had been up in here. And the other guy was like, yeah, he had this, he was like, how could you forget him? And the other guy was like, I don't want no parts of this, and walk back and go back in his office. But they knew exactly who Ernesto was. So he looked at me. I looked at him. I was like, look, I heard the name. Y'all don't have a common last name. And so I just, was here. But I meant to tell such and such when I was here last time, but I forgot. But I wanted to make sure I came back and just mentioned it to y'all this time. Well, let me tell y'all, they knew exactly who I was talking about. They knew who I was talking about. They didn't know the what. But I will let you guys know tomorrow, part 2. Because I was not walking out there without letting them know. And basically I was like, look, I'm giving y'all a heads up because I think y'all will want to know if your name, or establishment or where you work. Now, they didn't have anything to do with the situation. They got. According to them, they got. And it was so funny. One of the things he said to me was, he said, I would never forget him. He had this type of energy. That's the word he used. He had this type of presence and this energy. And he said, I remember him so vividly. There was certain things that he remembered about him that I'll talk about tomorrow. But he said, he said, I had he didn't say sixth sense. What did he say? He said, I had this, it was just something really weird about him that just wasn't, he was getting vibes. And when I say vibes, he was getting that intuition. But he could not quite place it. He said, I will never forget who this person was. And when he saw him, he was like, oh, yes. And I remember her too. Wait, they remembered Erica too. So Grand Theft Nesto has worked his way around. And he actually saw the mugshot. That same mugshot that's been on the TV and on the news, he looked at it and he was able to pick them. He was able to see them. He was like, yeah, I remember them. And there was some certain things that he remembered that he spoke about before I left. And I will talk about that tomorrow. But when people say there's 6 degrees of separation, now, I don't know Ernesto. I don't know his peoples. I ain't related to them. I don't know none of them folk. Okay, I only know them from the YouTube and seeing them on the news. That's about it. But it just so happened an establishment that he frequented is an establishment that I frequented. However, these people, I know them. Yeah, my sons went to school with them. I know them. So we lived in the same neighborhoods. Yeah, back in the day. So when I heard the name, I was like, I got to let them know your name. And see, it will go over anybody else's head. But I was able to put 2 and 2 together because first I saw the establishment. I was like, okay, I know where that establishment is. It's about an hour away from me. So I knew that from the paperwork. But when they said the name, I was like, oh, shoot. Because he actually, in one video, was telling Shirley to head on back over there when they picked up that white truck, her and Dion, to go on over there to that dealership and get some work done or some leak or something over there taken care of. You heard me. So yes, it's a small world, y'all. They said 6 degrees of separation, but it's really probably only 1 or 2 because somebody probably know you or know something about you, and especially with the advantage of the internet. I would have never thought in my mind that a case like this, I would know a person and hear their name on a call. I mean, could you imagine? And this ain't cap, as they say. This is all facts. Okay? These are facts because I was right with them on Friday. And the keyboard went clicking and clacking. And I was like, what? When I walked out of there, I was like, this is a hot ghetto mess. It seemed like Grand Theft Nesto ain't leave no stone unturned. So I'll finish telling y'all tomorrow in part 2 what he said. But I sure did tell him. I said, well, your name, I couldn't remember the video name because there's so many videos. You start watching these videos, you can't remember which one it was. But I know I watched a video where there was some documentation going over by Pam Esquire. And I saw it talked about the establishment there. It's in one of the police reports. Now, the name was mentioned by Ernesto. He was telling somebody to go do something at the dealership, and that's when he mentioned the name, but he could barely pronounce it, but he knew the name. And I said to them, your name is in one of these phone calls. And he was like, what are you talking about? They didn't know what was going on, but they knew of this person. And then they went on to tell me why they remembered him so vividly. I tell you, this story just gets deeper and deeper and deeper. That's all that I could say. I never thought I'd be listening to a phone call and I would hear somebody's name that I knew. And like I said, I don't know them people's child. I wish them all well, but I don't know them people's. I'm doing my job as a YouTuber. But yeah, can you imagine? 6 degrees of separation. Man, it looks to me, allegedly, that Grand Theft Nesto has made his rounds. All right, y'all. Like, share, subscribe, hit that little bell, and you will be. Like I said, I couldn't even believe it. He looked at me. I looked at him. He looked at me. I looked at him. He got the clicking and clacking on that keyboard and went into Google. I said, his name is Ernest Williams, and her name I said his name is Ernest Williams and her name was Erica Hughley Rothschild. He went click, brought it up, looked at the mugshot. He said, that's them. I said, oh, sookie now. But anyway, y'all, I will see y'all on the next upload. Stay tuned for part 2 tomorrow of 6 degrees of Nesto, 6 degrees of separation. I tell you, this has been crazy. Shout out to everybody who has subscribed and who's listening, and to everybody who's just intrigued by the story. All right, y'all, like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, and I will see you guys on my next upload. Peace, and I'm out.